let you know, Drew Lock might be a guy.
Yeah, put it on.
Drew Lock might be a guy.
5 touchdowns?
Him and Neighbors. Is that a tag team of the future over there?
Yes.
The New York Football Giants. It looked like it. It certainly looked like it. And remember, while this game's happening and you're watching these highlights, the Indianapolis Colts still very much in it. All they would have to do is, just win out against a New York Giants team. They already got a win in MetLife against the New York Jets. They, going into this game, had more wins in this stadium than the team they were playing against, but Drew Lock put that thing on.
He did.
And when Drew Lock gets hot, it's unstoppable. Joe Flacco did everything he could. There was a couple turnovers, obviously. There was a couple touchdowns that were thrown. We were in it. But inevitably, 45 points.
45
points.
The Giant total?
No, for the one team, the New York Football Giants. They scored 45 points in a game you needed to win.
In fact, the Giants were the only dog to win yesterday.
Okay, so
the only.
Well, it was 14-1 and 13-2. The favorites were yesterday. The Titans and Jags were basically a pick 'em. So whichever book you looked at, but yeah, let's just say the Colts were the only favorite to lose.
Yeah, and it was all three phases of the Indianapolis Colts, and that led to me typing something up on X.
Sure.
Okay, and the only reason why I felt obligated to put this particular message out is because the things that people were saying to me as I was observing and reporting on the Indianapolis Colts, as somebody that has been, in the city, obviously, at all the games, like 2 hours before games start, watching everything, how it goes. Because I don't know any of these guys on this team, really. I don't know any of them. No relationship with them. Now, my fault probably, but also whenever Jonathan Taylor did what he did last year to start training camp as our superstar and our best player, and he was just potting with a hoodie on for the first 2.5 weeks of Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson trying to set a brand new culture, a culture that is only existent because all the pillars that are still on the team now earned the team the number 4 overall pick because of how bad they were. Okay, so whenever that whole thing starts, I have to point out the fact, like, hey, this would be a lot easier if you just, didn't do this and kind of set precedent and showcase that this is how it is. Inevitably, it was right business move. Chris Ballard, Jim Irsay rewarded Jonathan Taylor and that particular action while they're trying to build a brand new culture in there with a new head coach and a new quarterback and everything. And I think from that moment, the way I spoke about it, kind of, hey, that guy is not one of us type thing. Sweet, all good. I actually kind of expected. I understand that completely. But I feel like I was very optimistic about this team for a very long time. Into every microphone that I could find, I would talk about the Indianapolis Colts having a way. That is, and then I'm a part of all their shit, pretty much. All of the Colts stuff. Very much proud of that fact, too. I have a lot of friends in that building, obviously, that have been there a long time. The OGs that I referenced, I would like to see this team get good for them. But the players just, have never won. This group of players has never won here. Haven't won the AFC South in 10 years. Think about how good the AFC South has been for the last 10 years. Great. Powerhouse.
Yeah.
Tough to win.
One of the best.
But all these guys not all these guys, most of these guys that are on this team have been here for the entirety of it. Chris Ballard, who I think is a good man, okay? He's a very good man. Great hair, great accent. He always says, I trust our guys. I trust our guys. He's paid all these guys that have been here for a long time. They still have never won. And then, the whole thing starts happening with me pointing out the tapping out thing of a quarterback on a third down in a red zone in a game that you need to win. And he says, I was tired. That's all. And it's like inside voices don't need to say that. The fact that you think you could say that leads me to believe that you literally have no awareness of any repercussions of anything. There's no accountability anywhere. So obviously it was bummer to hear Anthony Richardson, a man who has so much potential, so much. You're talking about being able to throw, 62 yards off his back foot like this into a bucket, being able to run 4.5, 4.4 at 260 pounds, might be 290 right now, who knows, whatever. He is immensely gifted. It is bananas to think about how great he is. But then you start putting pieces together, start watching things, you see the tap out. That's not the only time he's tapped out of a game with no problems. Happened in his first year, too. If you watch his first 5 games that he played, there's 2-3 different times where he's off the field. And then what happened medically? Nothing. He's back. Practice Wednesday. It was like, well, what happened? He was sore. And then this week it was being described as he's back and his foot are sore, which is why he's not practicing. And it's like, okay, it turns out it's back spasms, so we hope he's okay. But that one little tap out thing was an indicator of how the entire culture in that building is. If your franchise quarterback thinks it's all right just to be like, nope, I don't want to be on the field. If he thinks it's okay to just not work hard, which was the reports that came out immediately after the benching, is like he started preparing a lot better. He became the guy who was the first one in. He started becoming a professional after the benching. The OGs had to go talk to him. It's like, but what had been happening before that moment? And then obviously my face gets used as like, hey, this guy's an enemy of the Colts, what the national media is saying. No, everything I said about your team was right. And everything I said about your locker room was right. And you have won nothing. You have won absolutely nothing. I was just a punter. I very much understand that. I saw a lot of people saying this guy's just a punter. Well, if I'm just a punter, I don't know. The view on a lot of these Colts fans feel about this particular era of this team. There's no accountability. They're seemingly just not really aware. Colts. I understand it's a business. I understand it's a profession. But I just felt like I had to get off my chest. Some people said, is this, how long does this take? Does this take weeks? You start writing this whenever it happened. It was like, no, that came together pretty quickly. That came together pretty quickly, about 20 minutes or so, just because it was all natural thoughts that I had. Late to meetings, like nobody that's good does that. Nobody that's good. Missing or skipping treatment, nobody that's good does that. Having preparation questions publicly, nobody has that. Work ethic questions publicly, like nobody has that. Nobody good has that problem. It's not a professional operation over there. So whenever I have to point it out, it's like I become an enemy as opposed to somebody that's being like, hey, we got to tighten our shit up. But I don't know if you can flip that switch, which I said in that. I don't know if you could just become a professional overnight either. I don't know how that happens. I don't know what the future looks like for the Colts, but I do know there's a lot of us, from what I've learned from reading the responses to that are Colts fans, which I am, that are about fed up with it. There's not really many likable pieces to this Indianapolis Colts team. And then the podcast stuff on a losing team, it's like, I get it that I made content when I was playing. And when I was young, I had to go through a lot of learning lessons as well. But a lot of these guys are older, and they haven't won, and they're doing a lot of shit that bums do. And it's like, somebody has to point that out, and I'll do it. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that are pointing it out here about the Colts. But yesterday was a bummer, D-Butt.
Boy.
It was a bummer. That should have been, we should still be lurking.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that was, at least there's something to have hope for going into the final week. Jacksonville, who can't beat anybody but the Colts, which goes back to you guys still talking, doing podcasts, acting like you're something. The Colts, I'm not getting into it. Salute the Service Award. Which is obviously a massive ordeal, especially here in Indianapolis, Indiana, which is an award given to somebody on each team for their service back to the military and I was very lucky to win that award multiple times. I became a finalist in the NFL, felt honored to do it. Here in Indiana, the amount of military personnel there is.
A lot.
Amount of military everywhere. Camp Atterbury is about an hour south of here. They're sending people to war down there. I mean, this is a very, very, very big military hub. You heard about the shelter downtown before the winter. The Colts gave that to Blue, the Salute to Service Award winner. It's like the Colts gave the award to themselves for what they do for the military in Indianapolis. It's like, so nobody on the team.
Who's Blue?
Blue's the mascot.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the Colts. Like, that is the Colts.
They tell him where to go.
So it's like you just start adding up all these things. It's like, who are you guys? Like, why do you think you are who you are? And it's because they all got paid. They've all been here. And there's never been anybody that's like, hey, you can't just stink and get away with it. Well, you can, because they have, and they are continuing to do so.
Man, and as a former Colt, I saw obviously a lot of people saw your tweet. You saw
so many. I did not expect that. I put that down, by the way. Came back, saw it at 6.8. Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Put it
People
down
thought I
again.
was like mad when I was writing it. I wasn't mad. I was just like, this is just a matter of fact.
Yeah,
like,
true.
These are just all the things how I feel about the situation.
Yeah, and like you said, you can't. I don't think you can just flip the switch. You know, it's a culture issue at that point because you're coming in, like you said, lurking, and you looked at the schedule a couple weeks ago. Okay, we got these two teams. We handle our business. Obviously, some other things got to happen. But then to see that effort, you know, talent is one thing, and I feel like we have the talent on the team. So when you go into and playing the New York Giants and you lay an egg like that, they put up 45 on you, and then just watching the tape, watching the game, and seeing the effort. Extremely, extremely disappointing. You see what's going on in Minnesota with what Questy and KOC have done. You see what's going on in Detroit with Brad Holmes and MCDC have done it. And other places as well. The Rams came into this season, bunch of young pieces on defense. Obviously, Stafford didn't know what was going on there, and they're won the damn NFC West. So like when it comes down to the leadership, and that's from the top down, not only the players, and then the players. you got to police each other. You got to create that culture and enforce that culture in the locker room. And like you said, we know a lot of people in that building. Shout out Dave Hammer, who it's probably his last season there, but he's been there since
Head
84.
athletic trainer, yeah.
He's been there since 84, so he's seen a bunch of different teams. A lot of those guys, the training room, equipment room, former players. You know, I know it's a lot of new fans who maybe have been fans of the Colts for, 4, 5, 6, 7 years and think they know it all. But when you talk about the people who have laid the foundation of the organization and what they put out there on tape and on the field, as professionals, you obviously got to look at yourself and check yourself, and then you got to be able to check each other. And the only way you can check somebody else is if you're accountable yourself and you're holding it down. So very, very disappointed as a former Colt. And I agree with damn near everything you said in that tweet.
A lot of bum tendencies.
Yeah.
Just like too many bum tendencies. And then just stop being bums. Just be like, it's hard for me to understand and wrap my mind around it. Especially, like Anthony Richardson didn't play yesterday, and I hope his back is healthy. Legitimately, I hope his back is healthy. Back spasms would suck. The fact that it wasn't rolled out as back spasms to begin with, I think is...
in my opinion, once again, and I know a lot of people over there, I got a lot of respect, but that's an organizational thing because you can't, you put him in a bad spot because, we don't know. We don't know. As fans, we don't know what's going on inside the building. But when you say back and foot soreness for a week when everything's on the line and there's already been question marks around your quarterback with the tapping out and missing games like that, and you say back and foot soreness, and then after the game you say, oh, it was spasm and they were serious, and that's like what are we doing?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's very much like the Dolphins with Tua early on when they said he had a rib problem and it wasn't anything, it wasn't fractured. That was the initial report. And then as the week
he had a
went
hairline
on,
fracture or something instead.
Bingo, as the week went on, and then they released, hairline fracture in the ribs, which is a completely different story. But the Giants too, they were one of the teams that hadn't scored 30 points all year. They were on that graphic with the Raiders.
Multiple guys got their first interception of their career yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's what I saw. Not career, but year. That's actually their, I think I heard, that's their first interception of the whole season right there. That's what it felt like. Yes, nasty. Obviously, not the right throw, not the right spot. This is his first interception of the year, though, I do believe, this guy. And it's like, what a play. That's the first drive. That's the first drive downfield. We were moving. Flacco was spinning.
Oh, yeah, he was playing ball.
33 points.
And there's a lot of talent on the team, which I think is why it's like, come on, dude, come on. And if you want to make me the face, make me an enemy in this city, okay. Try to get me booed out of town for what you guys have done to that building.
Well, you guys always say it too. There's a lot of talent in the NFL. Period. Typically you don't get to the NFL if you suck at football. There is a lot, but it goes back to everybody's good. So if the culture's bad and stuff like that, you mentioned it, a lot of the shit that was coming out in the media and what people were saying, you don't. Both of the 7 teams on the AFC and the NFC side, you don't hear any of that shit from any of those teams. None of that stuff.
Oh, we got guys not working hard over here, middle of season. What? You got guys not working hard? That's got to be. We got guys just showing up late to team meetings, not because they get in a car accident or something, just because I overslept. Sorry about it. It's what the. Do you care about football? Do you care at all about any of this? Maybe you don't. Whatever the case, you're eliminated again. Have a great